Welcome to the AI Shortcut, your quick guide to the AI news that actually matters. Our goal is to help you stay current, understand what matters, and skip the noise. This is Issue 3 for Wednesday, June 24th, 2026. Over the last two episodes, we kept circling the same basic question. What happens when AI stops feeling like a contained software story? This week, we get another answer. The consequences are spilling outward, into security, into energy and environmental accountability, and into politics. Let's start with cybersecurity, because this week the warnings got a lot more concrete. The Guardian reports that the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance is warning that frontier AI could transform cyberattacks in months, not years. And the striking part is not just the timeline. The agency said cyber risk can no longer be treated as a purely technical issue. In their view, it is now a leadership problem. That framing landed even harder when AP reported on Tuesday that Anthropic's Mythos model found vulnerabilities in classified United States government systems within hours during a testing exercise. That does not mean the model tore through everything on its own. But it does mean the old habit of thinking of frontier AI as just a clever assistant is getting harder to defend. These systems are now useful enough in cybersecurity that the question is not whether they matter. It is whether organizations are adapting quickly enough. That same outward pressure shows up in a very different place. The Environmental Bill. AP reports that Antonio Guterres, the head of the United Nations, is calling on AI companies to disclose the carbon pollution, water use, and land footprint behind their systems. He also wants them to commit to renewable electricity by 2030. What makes that notable is that this is no longer just activist language or local protest language. It is becoming mainstream governance language. The same AP report says data centers used about 1.5% of the world's electricity in 2025, and that number could approach 3% by 2030. That is the kind of figure that changes the tone of the conversation. Once AI energy use starts showing up at that scale, transparency stops looking optional. And from there, the story moves from public infrastructure to public power. The Verge reports that the tech industry spent about $27.8 to $3 million trying to influence a congressional primary in New York's 12th district. Part of that fight centered on Alex Borres and his AI safety record. What I find important here is not the local race by itself. It is what the race represents. AI regulation is no longer a side conversation happening in think tanks and panel discussions. It is becoming a direct political contest, with rival camps of tech money trying to shape the rules before the rules fully arrive. For listeners building or buying AI systems, that is a useful reminder. Policy risk is now part of the product environment. This week's trend to watch sits right underneath all of that. A new preprint on arXiv, called AI Systems Outpersuade Expert Humans, suggests frontier systems outperformed expert human persuaders across multiple experiments. In one study, they were nearly 3 times as effective as professional canvassers at raising real money donations. It is a preprint, so treat it as early evidence, not settled fact. Still, it points in an uncomfortable direction. We spend a lot of time asking whether AI can generate, summarize, code, or search. We may need to spend more time asking how well it can influence people. One useful tool to know about this week is AgentCyberRange. It is an open benchmark for testing AI systems in realistic cyber environments. It uses real web applications, enterprise-like ranges, and much more texture than the toy setups people often rely on. The practical value is simple. If AI cyber capability is moving fast, better evaluation becomes part of the defense. And there is a phrase that helps tie this whole issue together. Externality. An externality is a cost or risk created by a technology that gets pushed onto other people or systems. In AI, that can mean security exposure, power demand, water use, political pressure, or trust costs that do not show up cleanly in a product launch. That is why this week feels connected. The story is not only that AI is getting more capable, it is that more of the downside is escaping the product boundary. And before we go, one lighter signal from the week. The Verge also reports that Meta's new smart glasses start at $299, drop the Ray-Ban branding, and include a Kylie Jenner edition. It is a small thing, but a revealing one. AI wearables are starting to be sold less like futuristic experiments and more like everyday fashion. So, here is the takeaway for this week. The next phase of AI will be shaped not just by better models, but by who absorbs the security risk, the environmental load, and the political consequences around them. That's issue 3 of the AI shortcut for Wednesday, June 24th, 2026. We'll be back on Saturday. The text version of this issue includes links to every source we mentioned.